Hey everyone, welcome back with a new lecture with ISO IEC 17025 2017 edition. And now in management system requirements we have internal audit, and you will find minor changes have been made in 2017 edition, but still you can use the same like what was in 2005 edition, and there are only some points have been added to this edition. So you will have many analysts inside the lab can be able to conduct internal audit, and that will be very useful for the lab because these analysts have a technical background, not only from the quality side. So they will conduct internal audit better than the quality manager, and that will be very useful for the lab. But there is a very important point. If that person working in a pesticide lab, he cannot conduct internal audit on a pesticide lab. He should make the internal audit but on other units. But still you can keep quality manager or quality officer to be responsible for the internal audit because he is responsible for all documentations inside the organization or inside the lab. As I mentioned in this edition, quality manager has been removed or not added to this edition, only to keep it more flexible for the lab. Still you can have quality manager or quality officer or quality specialist. He will be responsible for conducting internal audit as a team leader, and you will have he will have quality coordinator from each unit to be able to conduct internal audit on other units inside the lab. And you should know that this system, by using the quality manager or quality officer and the quality coordinator from each unit inside the lab, and this quality coordinator also can be responsible to conduct internal audit, this system not applied only now because of 2017 edition, but it has been applied in different laboratories since long time when they were accredited according to ISO IEC 17025 2005 edition. But now this system has been promoted in 2017 edition to give chances to the analysts to show their experience and to be able to conduct internal audit. Another point has been added to this edition or promoted in this edition. Results of previous audits shall be taken into account. When you will conduct internal audit, you shall go back to check all non-conformities or all observations to find out if these non-conformities repeated again now or not. And these are the benefits also from applying risk-based thinking. When you apply risk-based thinking, you shall ensure that all risks have been eliminated or reduced so that no non-conformity will appear again in the future. If you find out any non-conformity, this non-conformity shall not be repeated again in the future. And first point of this closed lab shall conduct internal audit at planned intervals. Planned intervals added to this edition to conduct the internal audit at predetermined schedule, and that will be written in the internal audit procedure. To conduct internal audit may be 2 times per year or 4 times per year or 1 time per year, and that will be based on the lab capacity and also lab requirement. But before that also, most of laboratories or maybe all laboratories, those were accredited according to the previous edition, they have been applying the same system. Internal audit at planned intervals or predetermined schedule because of the requirement of the accreditation bodies. So this point at planned intervals has been promoted in this edition. And what is the use of the internal audit? Why do we need to apply internal audit? To provide information on whether the quality management system conforms to lab's own requirement for its management system, including lab activities. So all lab activities shall be conformed to the management system that you already applied inside the lab, and also conforms to requirement of this document ISO IEC 17025 2017 edition. So the use of that to assure compliance to the standard ISO IEC 17025 and to your own quality management system. And till now, how do you apply this clause? First, lab shall follow a predetermined schedule. As I mentioned before, the lab shall conduct internal audit at planned intervals. They shall determine how many times they need to apply or to conduct internal audit for all units inside the lab. That schedule established by the lab and shall cover all activities inside the lab. Better to have or to prepare a general procedure, internal audit procedure, which include the following points: the responsible person, and how to prepare for internal audit from the beginning till the end. Frequency, how many times you will conduct internal audit and who will conduct this internal audit. Report, after that report, internal audit report, and non-conformity closing. Also, the lab shall plan, establish, implement, and maintain an audit program. This audit program is mandatory and it can be used instead of the procedure, because now procedure not mandatory. You don't have to prepare a specific procedure for internal audit, but you have to prepare audit program. But better to have procedure for internal audit, including same things: the frequency, methods for internal audit, responsibilities, planning requirements, and reporting for the results. And this audit program shall take into account the importance of lab activities concerned. As example, you will have different lab activities inside the lab, but one or two of them are more complicated, or they have too much documents. In this case, you have to give them, as example, one day to audit this lab activity, and also shall take into account changes affecting the lab. Changes are very important. For each quality management system, you will find many changes for the lab activities, but these changes shall be opportunity for improvement, not risk to the lab activity and not risk to the management system. So they shall check during the audit the consequences after these changes. As example, if you have modified a specific method to analyze specific target analytes, you shall verify that you can still use this method to get accurate or valid results. And during the audit, they will check if you did this verification or not. And quality control samples, the result of quality control samples after verification of this method, after using this method to analyze the samples. And also they shall take into account results of previous audits, as I mentioned before. They shall go back to check all non-conformities or old observations to ensure that these non-conformities will not be repeated again in this audit. Also, the lab shall define the audit criteria and the scope before each audit. Every time you will conduct the audit, you shall define the criteria and the scope and send this to the responsible person, as example, technical manager or technical officer. So what you will send to him: audit will be performed in the period from this to this, from this date to this date, for the following lab activities. Shall cover all lab activities inside the lab. The lab activity name, responsible person who will conduct the audit, and date and in which time exactly. Against the criteria, what is the criteria? Against which standard? Against ISO IEC 17025 2017 and own quality management system, and also other guidelines used by the lab activities. To ensure the scope, to ensure that these lab activities follow requirement of this document ISO 17025 and lab's own requirements, and also what's written in their procedures. Lab shall ensure that results of the audit reported to the relevant management. These results shall be sent to the responsible person, to the relevant management, and this is new added to this edition. Quality manager or quality officer will send the results to the technical manager or technical officer for the specified unit. for the specified unit, who will send to the responsible person, the responsible analyst for this method, and he will solve the problem to apply the corrective action. He will apply the corrective action as per his experience or his knowledge, and then he will send this corrective action again to the technical manager, who will check his corrective action. If he applied the accepted corrective action or not, then he will send back to the quality manager. And also this data or this audit report shall be sent to the lab manager to inform him about the effectiveness of quality management system, and to inform him that all lab activities inside the organization conform to lab's own requirement and to ISO IEC 17025 2017 edition. So results of the audit also and corrective action should be sent to the lab manager to inform him that lab activities conform to lab's own requirement and the ISO IEC 17025, and that can be done during the management review. And they shall implement appropriate corrective action, correction and corrective action without delay. They shall follow the protocol for corrective action, and they will have to prepare a specific form for non-conformity corrective action. As I said, technical manager, he will receive, technical manager for the specified unit, he will receive the non-conformity in that form, written in that form from the quality officer or quality manager. Then he will send this non-conformity to the responsible person. He has different method inside his unit, so he will send to the responsible person, and that person will try to find the best corrective action. He will find solution for this non-conformity. Then he will record this in that form, and he will send back to the technical officer, who will revise this corrective action. And if he found everything is okay, accepted according to the management system and also ISO IEC 17025 2017, in this case he will send back this corrective action to this form, completed non-conformity corrective action, to the quality officer again, and that should be without any delay. So they shall record that in the form non-conformity corrective action, and they shall follow the protocol of corrective action inside the lab. So the lab shall retain records as evidence of the implementation of that audit and also results of that audit. So they shall keep the audit program, as I mentioned before, and also audit scope and the criteria that will be before each audit. As I mentioned, internal audit checklist that will be with the responsible person for the audit. It will be inside this checklist, you will have many points need to be checked in every lab, and that will make the audit more easy. And audit report. In the audit report, you will record all points have been checked from the standard, and if you find any non-conformity or observation, and what is the objective evidence for each one of them. And non-conformity and corrective action records, as I mentioned before. If you find any non-conformity, you will send to the responsible person. He will solve, or he will find the corrective action and send back to you. And this note also has been mentioned that ISO 19011 provides guidelines for internal audits. In this lecture or in this training course, I cannot explain the complete ISO 19011 or any other guideline related to internal audits, but maybe after that I will make another training course for that. But you should know that the use of internal audit, not to fight with the quality manager or not to fight with the analyst, but both of you should know that he will check your lab to find out any non-conformity, any observation, anything will affect your lab activity or your results before assessing from the accreditation body. So if he found anything inside the lab, you can solve, you can find corrective action for that. And in front of the assessor also, that if this process followed well according to your procedure or the management system or ISO 17025, he will respect that, and he will know that there is no deficiency inside this lab, and his assessment will be very easy. So every person in the whole world will have mistakes. So if you have any non-conformity, this is not the end of the world. That will be good and help also for you. So the quality officer shall respect the analyst shall respect the quality officer or the responsible person for audit, not fighting. It's not a fight between both of them. That was the end of our lecture for today. I'll try to keep some records in the resources, and see you in the next lecture inshallah with the management review, the final lecture.